Hi everybody, this is Aubree Adams, and I'm a former Colorado mom. I'm an activist and advocate against the legalization of marijuana, but really what I am, I'm just a mom. I'm not a professional. I'm just an average person, probably a little bit below average person, with my ability to public speak and to write and to communicate. But that's beside the fact. I'm still going to use my voice, my experience in science that proves what happened to my state and my family, to warn and to educate the community. People like me, we talk to other families all the time that unfortunately have lost children to marijuana, and it's heartbreaking. I spoke to a family yesterday that just lost their child 2 months ago. They described multiple psychotic breaks, their child arguing with them that marijuana was their medicine, and he took his life at the age of 19. It all started back when he was 14, back in 2014, when the legalization of marijuana for recreational use passed in Colorado. This is when we started seeing a lot of pro-pot propaganda, and our children were being targeted, especially on social media, and the mainstream media too. I mean, mainstream media, to me, they should be just sued. I mean, they have done such a disservice. They are so biased, and they just cherry pick the data, and they just sensationalize this whole movement that is really leading to the destruction of our country. I can tell you that the legalization of marijuana is not going well, and it is not going to end well. I guarantee you that, 100%. I can say that with 100% conviction. Okay, so you just need to decide, are you going to be part of the problem? Are you going to be part of the solution? So the solution is probably going to take many years. People want high numbers of death before anybody does anything. I mean, look at what happened with the opioid epidemic, right? So the marijuana movement, the legalization of marijuana and the opioid epidemic is parallel to each other, because marijuana is fueling the opioid epidemic. Addiction is addiction, and people have their drug of choice, and marijuana is more accessible to our youth. Addiction is a pediatric disease. Say that to everybody you know. Addiction is a pediatric disease. 9 out of 10 people that suffer from addiction start their drug abuse under the age of 18. So now we have allowed an industry to market to our children, and they are taking it hook, line, and sinker. And many of the parents are minimizing the impacts of this. And the truth of the matter is, they didn't legalize marijuana. And like Ben Court says, they commercialized THC. We call it crack weed in my family. We've never seen these potency levels ever. So the legalization of marijuana made marijuana more dangerous than ever. It can lead to psychosis. It can lead to violence. This family witnessed it. Okay, their child was self-harming. Their child was having multiple psychotic breaks. They were trying to help him. And it's very difficult, and this family is suffering greatly. I just can't even describe or even tell you what it's like to speak to these families that don't have their children and live in a world that doesn't understand the impacts of marijuana. There are many people that are speaking out. SAM, I mean, it's a national organization. It's learnaboutsam.org. Go to their website and read the truth. Go to Parents Opposed to Pot. It's poppot.org, POPPOT.org. Go to MomStrong. It's momstrong.org. Make sure you get the 2 S's in there, because it'll take you to a site you don't want to go to. These are powerful organizations. America Against Legalizing Marijuana. I mean, these organizations are doing everything they can to educate. And now we have Alex Berenson, okay? He is just an independent journalist. He was a New York Times journalist, and just from a conversation he had with his wife, who's a forensic psychiatrist, found out that marijuana is the main drug that is causing the violence in our country. So Tell Your Children the Truth About Marijuana, Mental Illness and Violence by Alex Berenson. Read this book. Send it to your elected officials. Tell your elected officials they are not God. They should not be making up drug policies with no science behind it. Like the state of Colorado, just in the House of Representatives, just passed a bill for them to treat autistic children with THC. There's no proof in that. There's no science with that. There's a ton of science that shows that THC is very damaging to the young brain. And why would a state keep passing laws like this? Well, we know why. It's money. They're going to take... Drugs are a driving economic factor. They are being funded very well. The Drug Policy Alliance is funded by George Soros. The Drug Policy Alliance has infiltrated almost every part of our country, especially in the state of Colorado. Even on a local level, where I'm from, in Pueblo, Colorado, I was watching the heroin task force people speak up at the city council, and they won their one little line: we've aligned ourselves with the Drug Policy Alliance. And their goal is to legalize all drugs. So they've turned this into a political issue. It's about money. They want the grants and everything and do all that stuff. They're not there to help. Enabling is what they're doing. Exploiting is what they're doing. There's no proof that marijuana helps PTSD. There is proof that you can numb yourself. You can numb yourself with all kinds of drugs. And we know that the marijuana industry is targeting people suffering from mental illness and telling them to get off all their pharmaceutical drugs and just use this marijuana. It's leading to severe psychosis and violence. Planned Parenthood shooter in Colorado Springs, the Halloween shooter in Colorado Springs. There was a man who stabbed his 11-month-old child here in Texas. It's marijuana-induced psychosis. It's out of control. It's not going well. We just had 5 officers shot in Houston over marijuana. Okay, they killed a man in my neighborhood over marijuana. After the legalization of marijuana, there was home invasions. It turned every home. The legalization of marijuana turned every home into a potential drug house. Yeah, some people will follow the rules, but many, many won't. And they'll come to your neighborhoods, and they will set up grow houses in your neighborhoods. And then they will sell to the black market. If they want big money, they'll sell to the out-of-state people. If they want just regular money, which is they can make a living off of it, they'll sell to the local people. And some of those local people will be your children. I know I had families in Pueblo harboring my son, giving him marijuana. Who the hell are these people? Who gave them permission to give my child marijuana and tell them it's medicine? And everybody protect those families. Like the children, his friends would not tell me who these people are. We don't want you to call the cops. We don't want you to do that. I'm like, do everything you can to get in the way of marijuana and any drug to your child. Do not minimize the effects of marijuana. Pray for these families. Pray for our country. But do your part. Get involved. You have to do action. You have to do your part. Read this book. And call these elected officials out, like Cory Gardner. I'm afraid he's made some kind of backhand deal with the current administration. I am really afraid that's coming. They did the same thing with the pharmaceutical companies. The DEA was going to crack down on these drug companies. They knew they were pumping these pills into these, especially poor communities, and they were going to crack down on them. And then the last administration and Congress passed bills to protect them. And nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about their part they played in it and how they protected these pharmaceutical companies. And now they're trying to do the same thing with the marijuana industry. And then the marijuana industry wants to legalize all drugs. They've already introduced the bill to get psychedelic mushrooms legalized in Colorado. Really, we need more people hallucinating on the streets? That's what we need? We need more people hallucinating in their homes around their children? So you just need to ask yourself, what part do you play on this? Are you just going to be complacent and not get involved and just let this, I don't care what they're doing in their house. Really? When they're stabbing their 11-month-old child, you don't care? Yeah, I don't care. when they're starving their child to death, you know, like go to my YouTube channel and see testimonies. You know, there's one gentleman that speaks out during the teacher strike in Pueblo, and he's there because he's a retired teacher. His daughter's a teacher, so they were striking for better pay. Our teachers deserve all the pay in the world. I cannot believe what they put up with on a daily basis, and all the work they do. We need to be focusing on our children, the education. We need to pay our teachers. But anyways, this gentleman described how children would show up to school dehydrated, dirty, hungry, because the parents wouldn't give their children water because they wanted their water to feed their marijuana plants. Marijuana is more important than children. In the state of Colorado, that is very true. The state of Colorado picks marijuana over their children. The number one cause of death for children in the state of Colorado from the ages 10 to 24 is suicide. That's the number one cause of death. The number one drug they are testing positive for in ages 10 to 19, these are children, is marijuana. If you're having a hard time, regardless of what's going on, and you start self-medicating with drugs, you increase your risk for suicide. The number one drug that increases that risk is cocaine, with a 9-fold increase. The number two drug that increases that risk is marijuana, and that's low-potency marijuana. We've unleashed the highest potency marijuana ever known to man. Marijuana causes psychosis. Psychosis can cause violence, including homicides and suicides. This is not reefer madness. As my good friend, who's become my good friend, I have never known so many doctors and professionals in my life, but I am privileged to know them, privileged to learn from them. But my friend, Dr. Karen Randall, says it's not reefer madness, it's reefer blindness. So I say this to you. I'm testifying to you. I'm a Christian. I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Pray. Pray, people. Pray and get involved. This is not going well. It's not going to end well. And people are dying. And these lives matter. Read your book. And I'm Aubree Adams. I'm a former Colorado mom. And all the pro-pot people that follow me on Twitter and stuff, which I think is very funny. I mean, really. Pro-pot people, the marijuana industry follows me on Twitter. I'm a mom. I mean, like, I'm no threat to them. Okay, I have no idea. I guess they think they can bully me to silence or something like that. And anybody who knows me knows Aubree Adams cannot be bullied into silence. But just watch their ammo. They deflect. They deny. First they deny, then they deflect, then they get those personal attacks and, oh, you're such a bad mom, Aubree. You know, they tell me that. They're the ones smoking dope, but I'm a terrible mother. I've not been a perfect mother. I've made my mistakes, and I'll continue to make them. But I am trying. What are they doing? They're pushing drugs. They're drug pushers, drug dealers. And I would like to prevent that. So I support policies that are for drug prevention and drug recovery. I do not support drug promotional policies like the legalization of marijuana. It's not decriminalization. It is legalization. It is a drug promotional policy, and I ask you to do the same. Thank you very much.